Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Addiction Unfiltered show, where we demystify addiction, where we talk about everything addiction. We speak very candidly about our experiences. We leave nothing out. Well, as much as we can remember, at least, of the whole experience. My name is Laura, and I'm a recovering alcoholic. And with me is
Isabella, a recovering alcoholic as well.
Yes, my beautiful co-host. So,
Talk about beauty.
thank you. And how beautiful is this place?
That as well.
We're sitting on the balcony of our hotel room at Fairway, and they've been so good to us.
They really have.
So good.
They really have.
Really
and I mean,
enjoy it
imagine, look, they've been good to us by giving us this space, but look how good this space is.
Yep.
It's so beautiful. I feel like I'm in a rainforest right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're actually going to talk about our experiences at our in-treatment facilities.
Yeah, so what everybody calls rehab, short for rehabilitation,
Yeah.
which is short for basically making you better, which means rather translates to. And, this word is thrown around a lot. People know and understand it from movies mostly, but how often do you get to hear two similar but different experiences of actual rehabs of people who've been there and who are now here to tell you all about that?
Yeah.
So we're going to start with Laura. Laura, tell me about where you went. She said it before, but in case this is the first time you're joining us, where you went, what it was like, what did you do? I mean, as much as you can tell us without obviously revealing anything that breaks privacy, but yeah, so tell us. All up to you now.
Well, I'll just start by sharing the name. I went to Safe Places. Safe Places has two branches. One with in-treatment, yes, in Bujuko. Bujuko is on the way to Fort Portal. What's that road? Mitiana Road.
Yeah, Mitiana Road.
Yeah. On Mitiana Road, and then they've also got an outpatient branch in Shambogo. So that's where I went. Where did you go?
I went to India.
As in India.
As in India, the country. I went
see.
to India, the country, for my rehab, to a place called Samarpan, and it is in Mulshi.
In what?
In Mulshi.
Okay.
Which is in Pune, which is the bigger state, and it's about, so you land into Mumbai, and it's about an hour and a half drive from Mumbai. It's literally in the middle of nowhere. So I've been to Bujuko, I've been to Safe Places in Bujuko, and I can tell you that I think the theme for the rehab is put them in the middle of nothing and nowhere.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's this exact same place. Like
And
literally,
Bujuko has beautiful trees around. It
Yeah.
actually feels a lot like this.
Yeah.
Now, in case, for those of you who are watching from out of Uganda, mine, Safe Places, is in Uganda,
yeah,
right? Only about an hour and a half from where we're sitting right now,
Yeah.
from the city.
yeah,
Yeah, so there you have it. I went to, mine was in in Uganda, and then hers in India. Yep, India, like you heard her
yep,
describe.
like India, the country, and I'll tell you all about how I got there when I'm talking
Yes.
about my experience. Yeah.
Why don't you start with yours? Surely it's more interesting
What?
than mine.
No, not that it's okay. Well,
yeah.
I mean, okay. I guess it's more. I'm sorry. Did you get on a plane and go to India? Is that what she said?
Exactly.
Rewind.
Like, I don't think if I decided to tell mine first, everyone will just fast forward through it to get to how did she end up in India. So you tell yours, then I will calmly tell mine.
Okay,
So what was it like? How did you end up there? Just tell it all. Like tell it your way.
okay. So when I was looking to go to rehab, I realized I remembered that I'd had a family member who'd gone to rehab.
Okay.
So he's since passed away. My cousin. I don't think if he was alive today he would be against me saying this. So he's since passed away. But he had gone to rehab as well, and he had gone to Thailand. How he found that place is a whole other thing. I actually don't know. But when I was looking for where to go, I started off by looking in Thailand because that's where he'd gone.
Yeah.
But I didn't know where to go, because you're looking, and I made this decision on my own. I didn't really talk to anybody at that point. So I was doing all this research on Google, and I was looking at all the places in Thailand, and I was just so confused. I actually tried to go. I almost made it, and then I didn't. There's a whole backstory to that I'm not going to go into because we're talking about the rehab experience. So I finally hand of God, you know, there's an episode coming up where we have a guest who talks about hand of God.
Yeah.
When you're ready, God looks at you as his child, picks you up and puts every step
Aligns everything.
he puts every step in front of you and then puts you in that step with you. So I'm just sitting there one day. I am so sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I'm sitting with my aunt, the mother of my late cousin, and out of nowhere I literally go, I'm gonna say her name. She'll be okay with this. I know. I'm like, Auntie Rose, I need help. I seriously need help. I know that I need help. I want to go to rehab, and I don't know where to go.
You don't know where to
I don't know what to do. I don't know where. I just don't know. And I wasn't even at that moment. I hadn't connected the dots between Thailand, my late cousin Rubani, and her. I just opened my mouth and I said it. In that moment, that's what came out of my mouth. Sitting with her, we'd been sitting in silence for like an hour at this point. And I just said it, then she goes, do you know what? I still have the number of the guy who helped Rubani, called Martin, and do you want his number? And I went, yes, please. So she sends it to me, and the next day, I didn't do it right then, but the next day, I send him a message, and I go, hey, I got your number from my aunt, Rose. I don't know if you remember her, Ugandan patient you had a lot of years ago. I'm looking to go to rehab, and I've been researching Thailand. I don't know where to go. Where's your facility? And he says, oh, actually, during the whole COVID pandemic, we had to shut it down, and I went back. He's British, so he went back, and he was talking to another colleague of his who's a psychotherapist, I think, and they thought, you know what, he'd been in talks, this other guy, with somebody in India, and they thought, you know what, this is a place where it's the need for rehabilitation centers is coming up. Let's look at whether we can go there. So we started a place there, and how do you feel about coming to India? And I went, at this point, if you told me come to Mars, I'd figure out how to contact Elon Musk. Sorry, I don't love him on his politics, but I'd figure out how to contact him and be like, can I borrow a rocket, right? Because I really just wanted to go.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up in India. Contacted him. It took me, though, 5 months to finally go from the day I had that conversation. Because
why?
Because I kept putting it off because everything else was so much more important.
Yeah, work.
I had to first do this event, and I had to first do this project, and I didn't have the time off, and I had to go for this function for the family, and just justifications to keep in the cycle. Because at that point I was too scared to leave the thing that I thought was sustaining me, right?
Yeah.
I knew I needed help. I'd even put the processes in place to get help, but I was not yet ready. How I came to go to rehab is a story we'll probably deep dive in another episode where we're looking at the underlying factors. Is from hitting basically rock bottom, where I just decided I didn't deserve to live anymore. I didn't want to live anymore, and I actually tried to take my own life, and it didn't work. And
thank God it didn't work.
It didn't work. I put everything in place.
Yeah.
I did, and then the next day I woke up and I was like, okay, I'm still here. God, I hear you loud and clear. Called my brother-in-law, who's a travel agent, booked my flight. Called him first, then called Martin and said, when can I come?
How soon can I come?
I said, how soon can I come?
Yeah.
Because of course they have to put things in place for you when you're going to check in.
You don't just rock up.
Yeah, you don't just rock up. I mean, I wish it was that easy, but you don't. So I said, how soon can I come? He said, in 2 weeks. Is that okay? That's the earliest you can be here with us, having prepared everything. I said, that's fine. And then I had some money, but I needed obviously my family's support. Thank you, Jesus, for my family. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to my family as well, who watch every episode we do. They've been a big support, and they said,
I'm always praying mine don't, but we'll continue.
And they said, if you had said you wanted to go tomorrow, would have still made it happen.
Oh.
So 2 weeks from that day, I got on a flight on December 18th, 2023, and I flew to India. They picked me up from the airport with a full nursing team because I was on suicide watch, and took me to the facility, which is about an hour and a half, as I said, from Mumbai airport. And I got there, and I remember, first of all, I landed. I slept the whole flight. You know, our guest from the episode that's coming up talked about this, when it's like there's this sleep that comes over you when the help is finally coming.
Yes,
I don't sleep on flights. I never have. I have this inner ear thing that, you know, they usually explode if I sleep. I blacked out the entire 8-hour flight to India.
Yeah.
Completely blacked out. I woke up because the air hostess woke me up. We had landed. And then I got in the car in the airport and blacked out for the complete 1.5-hour drive. I woke up because they woke me up when we were getting the facility. Now, they woke me up when we were about 20 minutes from the facility because I think they realized I might freak out if I wake up in the middle of nowhere. So they wanted to see that we'd gone off the main road,
Yes.
and now we were branching into what is a sort of a village, and then again we branched into now middle of nowhere, and then we were
What
there.
was it? What's the name of the town?
Mulshi.
Mulshi.
Yeah,
Okay.
Mulshi.
In South India?
I want to say yes, but I don't know. It's Mumbai in South
Wait.
India. Yeah, so it's. I mean, if you Google Samarkand, if you Google Mulshi or Pune, you'll
Yeah.
find it.
Okay.
So we,
what was it like? Is it like a farm in the middle? So is it in a rainforest type thing? Is it?
so it's like in the middle of farms. So there's a lot of cows. There's a lot of cows around. Made me feel like I was going to my village home, but it is built. So it was actually sort of a boutique resort that went under during COVID, and then they repurposed it into. I know. So again, thank you, my family. Thank you, Jesus, because I had a very privileged rehab stay. Not that rehab is easy, no matter how nice the place is. By the way,
Right, that's true.
But
And at that
it-
point, you don't even care about
I
those
didn't even
things.
care. Let me tell you, the first like 3 days, I had not registered half of what was there. The first day I arrived, we enter, they stop the car at the gate, and you have a full body search. Full body.
Yeah. Yes, because you could be, you know.
Yep. Full body. And I mean full body, guys. Like, I mean they're checking insides. Yeah? Because you might be hiding. Because the addict by this point is
And I
very
think that's the
clever.
rude awakening of, oh
Yeah,
shit,
yeah.
I am going to rehab.
Yeah, I'm going to rehab. So they check everything. I didn't have anything on me because really I hadn't even thought that far ahead. But I had sanitizer in my pocket.
And that's not allowed.
It's not allowed. It's alcoholic.
Yeah,
Did I know?
I met a guy that was addicted to sanitizer.
So
in
did I
this
know
journey
all
of
of these
mine.
things I didn't know?
Yeah.
So they get my
Even
sanitizer from my
perfumes.
they get
Yes.
sanitizer from my pocket, and they're like, you can't take this. I'm like, okay, but it's sanitizer. Like COVID taught us we need sanitizer, but then I'm not really computing though. So they take the stuff and then they take my bags and they say you'll find your bags in there. So I'm like, okay. So I walk in, I meet the directors, the guy I'd been talking to, and the other guy. There are two of them, Obi and Martin. So I met both of them, and Obi asks me, and I'm scared, Laura. I'm scared. That gate closed, and I was like,
Oh shit.
I was just like, where am I?
Have
What
I
has I
decided
done?
to do? Yeah.
And then the shame of going to rehab hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
The minute I sat down.
Yeah.
I felt this weight like this is literally the epitome, the definition of failure. Look where I am.
Yeah.
Look where I am. Look how far I have fallen. I just
Yeah.
remember feeling so ashamed. And I'm sitting there and these guys are
Yep,
looking
I
at
can totally
me.
relate.
These guys are looking at me and they go, what's the one thing you're scared of? I didn't say shame. I didn't say guilt. I didn't say failure. You know what I said? How am I going to get through the next day without a drink?
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm probably, you didn't even think through that. It just came out.
It just came out.
Yeah.
And Obi goes, okay, that's a valid fear. It's been a while since you've gone a day without a drink.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that's the easy part. All the stuff you're going to deal with underneath all of that, that's the hard part. That's the one you should be scared of. This is what he told me. You know, I'm already scared. I'm already ashamed. I'm already guilty.
Yes.
Then now he's adding and he's saying you should be scared of that. And I was like, more fear? Why?
At that point, you can't imagine being more scared.
I can't imagine being more scared. But you do. You get more scared because then they did the suitcase search where they just took everything out. And as you've said, my perfumes that I'd brought went. My body sprays went.
Yeah.
My lotions, my perfumed lotions were taken. And this is for women, so guys who are watching, these are normal things. My tampons were taken. My pads were taken.
Yes. By the way, allow me
Yeah.
to say something that shocked the hell out of me. This is going to be a bit TMI, but imagine, right? What's happening in schools, in some of the girls' schools, what girls are doing in schools. They soak their tampons in alcohol and put them up.
Yeah.
And that shit enters the bloodstream so fast that it gets them high.
Immediately.
Can you imagine? So there are places that are actually burning
Yeah, tampons and yeah, because
So for those of you who are wondering why the tampons were taken
Yes.
out, it's not because they don't believe tampons are necessary.
no, and they don't give them
And
back
then
to you.
perfumes, people drink the stuff,
Yes.
they sniff it.
Yes.
Yeah, all these things that I was
Even
also very
lotion.
shocked to learn.
Even lotion. Even,
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Like they'll sniff
Yeah.
anything, you know.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
So they took them and I was like, but they're sealed. Then they said, and I knew my time of the month was coming up, so like they're sealed and like as in like in 3 days, like the app is saying, and then they're like, no, we'll buy you
hearing
others.
this, Isabella, but the app is saying, oh please.
Can you imagine? Because me, I'm like, I'm now trying. I don't know. I think that's again we're saying the insanity. I'm now trying to find some control in this completely
Yes.
uncontrollable situation.
And arguing about nothing.
Nothing.
You know?
Yeah, nothing.
Okay, so continue.
Yeah.
So now you check in.
So check in.
What was your room like? What
So my room. So this place as well, no matter how lovely I've described it, has all the options as well. You can share a room with somebody else, and as we heard on our episode with Janet, some people have to, because some people are in there and they have to actually live with somebody. It's advisable.
Yes.
So there's shared rooms, and then there is the single rooms. Those are the only ones they have. They only have 11 rooms, so you
the
can't
whole rehab only has 11 rooms.
Yes, it only has 11 rooms, so you can't be that many people there. Well, they might have put up more now, because I think there were plans when I left, by the time I left last year, to expand it.
Yeah.
Because really, honestly, rehab is a necessity. It's becoming overly subscribed, and they do a good job. Love them. They're the ones who made me. I love them forever. But yeah, so I go to my room. I had a single room, and I go to my room. It's lovely, beautiful bed. It's just very. In fact, it's not even a bed. It's like the boards down with a mattress on top. That's the bed. But it's very comfortable. White bed sheets, loved it. Tiny little bathroom.
So bougie. Mm-hmm.
So bougie, yes. But okay, so I'm a bit OCD, so I like the fact that they were white. Then then there's like a little bathroom, which is very small, almost you have to shut the door to turn, but it had a shower, it had a toilet, it had a sink. What else did I need?
Yeah.
And one wardrobe, small wardrobe.
And they're taking away most of your things anyway.
They're taking away
everything could fit in that.
So I look around and I can't unpack. I enter the bed and I cover my head because I'm ashamed, and I sleep because I arrived in the morning, so he told me to start the next day. Now, the process of rehab for me, which I'm sure you share because this is kind of a standard rehab practice, is you have activities. You have activities all day, every day.
It's a daily program.
It's a daily program, there's meals. So even on that day, day one, they woke me up for lunch and I went to lunch. You guys, I sat there in the dining hall, one long table, all of us, and we were all sitting there. I'm the only girl.
The only girl?
I was the only girl.
Wow, okay.
There were 8 other guys. I was the only girl.
So you were 9?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then most of them had been there longer. So the last one came like a week before me.
Okay.
And then they were all Indian.
So you were the only girl and the only African.
Only African. Only other
black.
race. Only other, I don't know what to call it, but only other anything.
We get it.
So some, of course, were not from India. There was one that come from the UK. There was one that come from Kenya, but Indian in origin. So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking again, but what have I done? Like, as in, what is this? What is this? What is this?
Yeah.
Some, I don't talk. They ask me, of course, they try. They say, hi, who are you? I'm like, my name is Isabella. Then they do that nice question that we've talked about. So what's your DOC?
What's your DOC?
Your drug of... First of all, I said DOC, I was like...
First of all, even drug of choice makes it sound like nice, like...
I was like, DOC, I don't know what that is. And they're like, drug of choice. I was like, I don't do drugs. And
Mine
they're
was
like...
alcohol.
Then they said... So alcohol, I said, yeah, they're like, that's a drug. I was like, oh, okay. So I'm like, already, I'm learning a lesson already. I'm the stupid one. Look at me being stupid. I didn't know these things. So already now I'm even more fearful.
Yeah.
Anyway, that happened. So there's a routine. So I didn't do anything on the first day. Then my routine started. So my routine, just to wrap it up really, because then it becomes regular. The routine was we wake up every day by 7 you're in a session of either
7 a.m. you're in a session.
7 a.m. Yeah.
Wow. So do they wake you up? Do you have alarm clock?
The first 2 weeks they check on you. No, sorry, the first week they check on you for withdrawal symptoms through the night every hour.
Yeah. Because usually you're even on detox meds.
You're on detox meds.
So they have to check you.
Yeah. So every hour someone comes to your room and goes, Isabella, and you have to respond, because if you don't respond, you might have gone unconscious. Yeah, you might have
Yes.
slipped into something. So they come.
Or done something to yourself.
Yeah. So they come, Isabella, every hour for a week. Yes, yes, yes.
Oh my God.
I was just like, on the third day, I was like, guys, I want my sleep now because sleep is coming. Why are you checking on me? But they don't stop. So, but then after that, you wake yourself up. But they would send somebody around if you weren't in the session. But that was a disciplinary action.
Okay.
Because you're supposed to start building those habits yourself.
Yes.
So, so 7 a.m. you're in a session. So now the sessions where I was, especially being India, you know, they're very holistic in how they treat things. So we had a lot of meditation, yoga stuff that happened. So every other day, so it was alternating. One day would have the Just for Today, which is an NA everyday sort of fellowship thing.
Yes.
So we'd have either that at 7 a.m. or as a group, as a whole group, everyone who's there, or yoga.
Okay.
So it was alternating. Then you go for your then you go for breakfast, sorry. Then after breakfast, so it was an hour session in the morning, then breakfast for another hour. Then you go for your medication. Now between breakfast and the first session, so breakfast is from 8 and the first session starts at 9:10. In that time, you're supposed to eat. You're supposed to go for your medication because they put you on supplements and also other things to help you through the withdrawal process. Still, for those that eventually they start seeing signs about some other mental health conditions that they need to treat you,
because
then
during this period they're observing you.
they're observing, and then they can do some diagnoses. So I got diagnosed with ADHD, and therefore I had a morning medication to take every day. So you go for that. You shower, or if you want to shower. As Africans, we're used to showers. So me, I go shower. Then you have to be waiting outside the group session room by 9, not 9:05, not 9:10 when you're supposed to be starting the session. If you don't make it in before 9:10, they close the door. If you're locked outside, disciplinary action. That session is a group session. Then you have, so in a day would have about 4 of those group sessions. But also every other day, you have an individual session, which is a one-on-one with your therapist. And then on one other day, one of the group sessions would be switched out for a psychiatry session with a psychiatrist who came in from Mumbai. And then would have physical activity that started at about 4:30 every day. And that was a group activity as well. Being India, we mostly played cricket and badminton.
You played cricket?
I played cricket.
Had you ever before?
I'd never before.
I don't think I can even hold that.
I didn't think I could either, but it was so much fun learning.
The cricket bat.
Yeah, and then you hold it like this, like upside down. It was so much fun learning. I'd not played badminton in a long time.
Badminton I would
really
enjoy.
good at it. Where do I miss badminton? I got so good at it.
But you can do it here too.
Yeah.
We move.
And I started learning some words in all the languages, really, because when they're playing cricket, they're just yelling.
How do you greet?
I said some words. I didn't say the real
Let's
words.
start with the greeting. And greeting, sorry, thank you.
No. The ones I was learning were things like I think they say something like, I can't remember now. It's like yeah, something like that, or something like it's like oh my gosh. Then there's chalo. Then there's
I think I've heard chalo.
yeah, chalo is like let's go. So there's a lot of chalo, and then it's like, so I learned some of those words and it became funny. So it became a thing where when I was playing cricket, I'd also be yelling them, and everyone laughs, and it was fun.
Because of course your accent
Because
wasn't
of course,
right.
and of course me saying it. But yes, that was the everyday. That was the everyday, and you go through all these sessions, and you do a lot of deep diving, and it was hard. It was hard, and there's nothing like.
Which part was hardest for you?
Literally sitting with my demons or letting them out, shall I say.
So the quiet times?
The quiet times, but no. The actual times when I had to eventually, because in group, they encourage constructive feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah? So you don't sit there and just wishy-washy your way through. If you're not sharing anything concrete, by the end of the week, the group is asked to give you feedback. That feedback usually includes, we still don't know much about you. We still don't think you're being
Like
open
you're still
and honest.
on the surface.
Yeah.
You haven't gone.
Yeah, so mine became a thing of a happy mask. I'd spent my entire life
Which you had been doing for
masking for so
Yeah.
long. I didn't even know how to take it off.
Yeah.
I was this happy person that made everybody else happy. So that's what I did even in rehab, and they called it out so fast, and everybody had to call it out. So I stopped doing it. I meet people now who are like, what's the problem? Are you okay? I'm like, why? You're no longer always smiling and laughing. I'm like, oh gosh, yeah, no, that was when I had the problem. Now I'm okay. But so in group, you have to come open. You have to come honest. I had to unpack
that was
myself.
Good training for this addiction and filtered.
I had to unpack myself.
Yeah.
I had to self-evaluate. I had to look at the resentment I held for myself, let alone the resentment for others.
Yeah.
I didn't realize. I knew I hated myself. I didn't know how much until I was there.
That
I didn't know how much I hated myself until I was there. I didn't know how strong I was till I was saying the things I'd gone through and saying them as, look at how weak I am, and the group is saying, do you not see that strength?
Yeah, you made
and I'm
it
like,
here.
Strength? Where? So that part of unpacking every underlying factor, everything that led you to depending so thoroughly on that substance was the hardest part for me, but it was also the most freeing, the most beautiful.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, how did you feel? Like every time you unpacked, every time you opened up like that, how did you feel after?
I felt like crap, to be honest. I felt like crap for a long time after. I would feel like crap for 2 days, because
it's hitting you. It's it's all coming back. All those things that you've kept pushing.
Yeah, it was like you feel like you've removed it. I called it vomiting my demons. It became a joke.
So graphic.
Yeah, I was like, no, I used to call it vomiting my demons or darkness, and it became another thing that we adopted as a group because it felt like I was vomiting things out of me, and then it also felt that pain. It was actually almost really like the act of vomiting is a good descriptor, because it felt like relief, but also the pain of the action, But the more and more I did it, the easier it got, the lighter I felt, the freer I felt. I think you described in an episode earlier how you started seeing in 4D.
Yeah,
I started seeing in 4D.
Truly. But you know what? Remember I asked you earlier if you had experienced the pink cloud?
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Oh, okay. I didn't. I thought
the pink cloud is now when your body, you start to enjoy this new feeling.
Yeah.
And that's usually after maybe some weeks of good sleep, good feeding, the medication is starting to work.
Physical
substance has
in
not been in your body for this long. Now you've detoxed. Yes, you're moving your body. You start to see things clearly.
Yes,
that pure joy, not the one of masking.
Yeah, the actual real one.
That's what they call the pink cloud. That's what I was asking you earlier.
I misunderstood it.
No,
I misunderstood it. Yeah. No, but so like literally, like things that I was saying, I didn't notice how beautiful this place was until week 3.
Exactly. That's now because now you start. It's like what do you call it? Like a curtain coming off your.
I'm like,
eyes.
wait, there's flowers. I started picking flowers because I started seeing the flowers.
Yes, you said seeing color. That's the 4D.
Yes. I started picking the flowers and putting them in my room. I had not seen them in 3 weeks. I was like, when did these flowers come up? Where were they? I started seeing everything in just so much light and love. That's the pink cloud. I was in it. I call it my rehab bubble because it felt so beautiful.
I used to say that too.
It felt like my rehab bubble. But
I used to call it the Bujuko bubble.
Yeah. So I was there for 2 months and I love that place. I love that place. It will always hold a special place in my heart. I love the people there. I love everything they helped me become, helped me become today. I love them for helping me discover the Izzy that I am today. Yeah. The Izzy that has never existed, and that is the best version of Izzy that I could have even dreamt of. Summer
this is better than you ever imagined.
I could not have imagined this. I didn't dream it. I like when I think of Summer Pan, I literally have warmth that spreads through my chest.
Yep.
Yeah, and I still meet. We still do a Wednesday group online every Wednesday morning at 6 a.m. Just for people who've been there. Some are from my cohort, as we call them, or others that have come and gone and joined from before, after. Yeah. But it's nice because I just that connection for me has to remain because these people.
So you said you were there for 2 months.
Yeah.
Did you have anyone visit you?
No. So. The one thing that I missed out in the sessions is you have family therapy sessions because the family is a big everything. One, you're in the disease together. It's affecting them as much as it has affected you. 2, they are usually your biggest triggers as well.
Yep.
So, and then 3, they're usually going to be the only support system you're coming back to.
Yeah.
So it's about understanding the disease, about understanding the why, about understanding their part, your part,
So
how
had
you can
online
move on
sessions.
from there.
Yeah.
So we had 2 online sessions, family therapy sessions, because they couldn't come out.
So it had to be online.
Yeah, and nobody came to visit because again, my family wasn't there.
Yeah.
But you know what? I didn't mind at all. I literally didn't mind. I went on December. I landed on December 19th, so I spent Christmas and New Year there. And I mean, Mom Sheila,
Were you
don't
sad?
hate me. No, Mom Sheila, don't hate me. Best Christmas, New Year ever to date. I say that because we were together.
You're going to be texting at night. Please delete that part.
No. I don't have to. But I think because by that point, by Christmas, I had started seeing clearly. I'd started wanting to live. I'd started wanting so badly to do the work. I'd started getting up at 5, 6 because I was so enthused. I wanted to go to that session.
Is the pink cloud.
Yeah, I'm like, I want to go and do better. I want to go. I'm like, today I have things to release for you guys. Like, I can't wait for group.
And yet remember how you couldn't even tell the story properly before.
Yeah. So that's why I say that. I love that I did a family holiday this year and I was with them when I couldn't be before last year, the year before. But it holds a special place that I had Christmas and New Year in rehab at a time when the rehab, what we were doing, the work of being in rehab had started working for me.
Yeah,
I could
I
see.
think if it had been too soon, maybe it would have been a bit hard. I mean, if it had been in the first 2 weeks of your stay. So you said you were 9 in total.
Yeah.
Out of those, how many of you had alcohol as your DOC?
We were 4. No, 5.
And the others?
The different drugs.
Yeah.
Different drugs. Different drugs. I mean, all of them I'd heard of those, so it's not any new drug. There's, ketamine, weed, the Mira version in India. But yeah, mostly the ones who come through though, it's alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah, some are
But then when you're
combination.
in there, you actually learn that it's all addictions.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, and some had combined. Some were doing both drugs and alcohol. Yeah.
Our stories are so eerily similar.
Yeah. So Yeah, and that's why. So I've told mine, and I want you guys to hear Laura's and understand why after hearing her story. And I mean, and also going to safe places and understanding it, you really see why I told our last guest that I was itching to contact Laura. Like, if she tells you the DMs I sent her until I had to go and search my phone book for her number and pray it was the one, and it was because I needed us to meet. I
Our
needed
stories
this to
are
happen.
so similar. It's so strange.
Yeah.
And that we're even related.
Yeah.
But so do you want to know mine?
I don't want to know yours so
So
bad.
it was one fine afternoon, right? I just Googled, contacted the rehab, and they sent a chopper. So even me, I flew to Bujuko.
I love it for you.
Yeah, and they have this landing site.
They really do.
So it was also very, I'm kidding.
Chopper, you can ask them if it can land, don't worry.
So, my story is not as fancy as this or as surprising, but it's also really special and very similar, very, very similar. And that's one of the wonderful things about doing this, what we're doing, sharing our stories, because you're there thinking yours is so unique and, you're alone in this, and then you hear someone else's story and you're like, my God, as in, when I was listening to yours, apart from the India part, could have just removed your name and put mine. Just edited here and there, but
Exactly.
so similar, down to like it's quite freaky.
Yeah.
And me who offered to go second, I'm just going to look like I have copied your story. But anyway, So my story, mine. Like how it took you about 5 months to decide, right? Now, I'm a very decisive person, right? Like very, very decisive, but also very picky and just picky. Like I can call a place, and if the receptionist sounds like, "Good morning, madam," I'm like, cancelled. Next on the phone. That's petty when it comes to those things.
Yeah.
So I knew that if I decided to search for a place on my own, I would have cancelled all the places or risked that. And I really, really wanted help.
Yeah.
Like I knew I didn't want to spend another day. So I've told this story, quite a number of times, but It was, for me, a journey that started mentally, subconsciously. I started preparing to go away. You know, I, even before I knew where I was going, you know, and obviously through a lot of, you know, the counseling sessions, I realized, you know, that's when I discovered how depressed I was, the anxiety levels, and I was quite literally going away from life. Those words which I can't even say.
Yeah.
You know, I had written my son a letter. I was handing over my company. Now, many people that know me know that Travaneza is very dear to me.
Yes.
You know, to step away from it, to hand it over. And you know, the way I hired someone and then took 3 months taking them through everything. And I kept telling him, please ask everything you want to know now, because I'm not going to be around. And because we're you know, he knows me, and he kept saying, but where are you going? I'm like, no, this is just so I make sure that you know everything, so that if I take a break after this, you know.
Yeah.
But he would always look at me like that, like,
like
but what's going on? But then he's also very respectful and stuff, so he did. And I could always tell he was dying to ask more.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I do this, and I remember I had given myself a timeline, and also my son was coming back from his holiday, and I just knew that I had to be gone by the time he got back.
Yeah.
And so I had also timed, you know, the whole handover in that way that the last meeting would be exactly a week, you know, before my son came back. And I remember after that last meeting, you know, and I literally said bye to him. I said bye. So all the best. And he's like, but what do you mean? I'll be calling. I'm like, no, you will not.
Yeah.
And then he goes. You know, I literally watch him walk away, and I can't explain it. It's like. It's like he walked away with something inside me. Like I sat there feeling so empty, feeling so like it was such a daunting feeling of what now? Is this it? Is this where I just go into the abyss? Is this, you know? And from where I was sitting in Kisamenti, I could look out. I looked out into the parking lot, and there was a pharmacy. And then there I'm thinking about actually how to, you know.
Yeah, I know.
And, you know, all these thoughts. And as I'm there thinking, a group of guys walk in. And I knew one of them. This is now the addict in me came back. Anyway, since I've decided to go, let me first enjoy one more. I bought all of them drinks. We sat and had what they say. Let's go to another place. I go there. I don't want to mention the place.
Yeah.
But I keep saying it has the most lethal cocktails, right? I ordered this cocktail that had red eyes. It looked like, I think it was actually called a demon cocktail. I don't know, but it had steam coming out of his ears. I have talked about that cocktail a lot. And it comes, I look at it, and something just shifts in me. You know, the whole Laura, you can't continue like this. What are you doing? You know, this is 1 p.m. What are you doing? You know, why?
Afternoon.
Yes. At this point, I am tired. I think I was walking like an injured elephant because I had also become that size. And then, so I go to the bathroom. I just excuse myself. I go to the bathroom because I just needed to look at myself in the mirror. I looked, and I literally even leaned in to look into my eyes, and I literally couldn't see myself. It's the most, you know, the what they call the whole mirror effect and whatnot. Right?
And you just see literally
I just went into the toilet, put the seat down, sat on top, called my brother and said, I need to go to rehab now, and it has to be done fast. He's like, no, but maybe we need some more time. Like, no. And I kept saying, not the interview ones, because in my mind, to me, those were the popular ones. I was like, I want something, out of town, but quietish, more a bit private, and I need one that has a self-contained room. Right? He knows how I am about my space and things like that. Because also in my mind, I was probably be the oldest person there. So for me, in my head, I thought I was going into rehab, a room that would just be mine, and then the counselor would come in there and we talk.
Okay.
I made sure. I think it was my body, my mind protecting itself, right? Because I wanted help so desperately. I didn't Google any place. I didn't. So I had no idea what happens in there. And I made sure. It's like, that's what I'm saying. This was just my mind doing its thing, because I just did not think beyond that point. Because if I had,
Your
There's
mind
so
would-
many things that would have freaked me out. The whole privacy thing, people are going to get to know, what about this, what will the food be like, what will if I had thought through all those things,
You wouldn't have
I
gone.
wouldn't have. And then maybe I'd have thought, well, let me first go and see what it's like. Then just one thing would have, you know.
One more thing.
Yeah, so I literally, I just trusted my brother with that whole process.
Yeah.
And then he said, so how soon? Like, what, like, you're ready now? I was like, yes. It's like, okay, so where are you? Can you take an Uber home? Are you able to, or should I send someone to? I was like, no. You know, I was close to home. I actually called an Uber. But it's so funny. Meanwhile, I had been drinking since 10 a.m. Maybe 9. And at this point, you won't believe it. Like, from that time when I leaned into that mirror, it's like it evaporated.
Yeah.
When I made that call to my brother, I was so sober.
Yeah.
Like I was, and then when he said, "Fine," what I think it was, yes, like I said, it was about 1 midday, now 1 when I was having these conversations, and he said, "I will be with you at 5 sharp." And do you know, I have never called an Uber with so much excitement, right? I went, asked the house help, call her the home manager, Rose, to come in and help me park. I parked like I was going to Hawaii. When I say like I was like with so much joy, the relief, it felt like I was finally getting help. Anyway, it's part of the insanity. I was in utopia. I truly wasn't thinking beyond. Because fast forward to when we reached the gate. So even driving, can you believe he picked me, go, are you ready? Are you sure about this? I'm like, yes. We drive. I didn't ask where we were going. I didn't even know what direction. It didn't matter at that point, even if we had, I don't know, it didn't matter. I was heading towards help.
Yeah.
That's what mattered.
That's what mattered,
I just knew I didn't want to continue a day like that.
Yeah.
So we get there, and obviously now the gate, and now the searches. They're searching. They're this. There was a lady, one of the patients, sitting there, and she was rocking. And I remember I told my brother, I was like, "But is this like Butabika?" Because, like I said, I didn't know that rehabs also have, like this one in particular, had mental health patients, not just addicts. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, actually, all rehabs, even ours, they just weren't there. Yeah.
I hadn't prepared for that. Like, I had not imagined it. For me, that was separate. Like, those were separate issues. Because remember, I didn't even think this was a mental health, this was a disease.
Yeah.
No, I just needed help. I just needed to stop drinking.
Yeah.
You get. I hadn't thought through the rest. I didn't even realize how much counseling would be involved. I didn't know anything. Anyway, we get there. Now, I had prepared myself for my phone being taken away because, of course, at this point, I was quite, like, I lived in my phone. Like, my work, my son was in boarding school, so, through the phone is how we spoke every week. Like, I couldn't imagine life without my phone. But I was ready for that experience, and, I was ready for the phone to be taken away. I had also told my brother that whichever place he chooses, he needs to tell them in advance, I need my phone for 1 hour every week because I need to stay in touch with my son. And don't take me to a place where they won't agree to that, right? Because it's like, I'm not going to be getting help, and then I come out and he's now even more traumatized. Now I even have more problems.
Yes.
So he agreed to that, and they had already talked. So that part, they even told me. I even said, no, I don't believe you. My brother might drive out of here and whatever. So we signed.
Yeah.
Properly. That you're going to give me contract. Yes, at between midday and 1 p.m. every Friday. Sign. And I made my brother take a picture. So
I love it.
Now, guys, let me mention, right, that as I was parking, I sent my border guy with my laptop with my power bank, right? To Fun's Video Kisamanti to load it up with movies. Remember, I thought I was going to be in my room and I would watch whatever. The phone was being taken away, not my laptop. Because for what? I don't use it as a medium to communicate through whatever it is, right? So after the signing thing, I'm now happy. Everything is fine. I'm like, yeah, I'm ready. So my laptop, I could see it in my bag, right? Like, we need that as well. I'm like, what do you mean? Hey, this is where the fights come. And it was drama. Yeah. For 4 days I quarreled about that laptop. Because, do you know, that's when I realized I couldn't remember when I had fallen asleep without my laptop. My laptop had been my bedmate for several years. Like I used to fall asleep to the sound of, like, in the middle of of an episode or whatever. Like my laptop was my bedmate.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even, I didn't think I'd be able to sleep. Anyway,
Yeah.
long story short.
Remove Laura, put Isabella. It's okay. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the part that I didn't like. But anyway, so I check into my room and it was so lovely, like a small one-bedroomed, a tiny bit, a single bed, but my own little bathroom, and then the window. For me, the best was lying on my bed, looking out the window. All I could see was eucalyptus trees. Things like Kalitusi. But anyway, yes, beautiful. Like actually, even now when I'm trying to sleep, I go back to that moment to just looking out, and somehow it was always windy, and then the leaves, the sound, it was so beautiful. So that was it. That was the check-in process. Find out that we have our own, there's a girl section and the guys section.
Same
things which I hadn't thought about. Because if I had thought about that, I think I would probably have freaked out and tried to call and ask all these questions. Am I going to be in the same, am I going to be the only female here? Am I going to be this and that? So it was quite, So that was, that process. And just like you shared in your story that night, remember how I wondered how I was going to sleep? I remember, took a quick shower and I didn't even enter, just on top. I just lay on top. I fell asleep at 7 a.m. and woke up, as in someone woke me up at 7. I don't know the last time I slept for 12 hours like that so deeply. There's just magic in sleeping without a phone. But also I was just exhausted. You can imagine everything that had led up to that point, what I'd been doing to my body and what my mental state was like.
It was like if your brain finally registered that you were where you're going to get help and just shut you down, basically. Shut you down.
And I wasn't on any medication at that point. But so that was that process. Now, I wake up and I look around. And then that's when it hits me, like, oh shit. And all those feelings of shame. How did I end up here? Lord, what did I do? Did it have to be me? Why me? My God, what is my family thinking? How are they feeling? How am I going to explain this? My God, my son, everything. I had to actually go on antidepressants. It was, I get up, I look, left, right in the corridor. I'm looking at people that look like, because I was upset, everyone looked not so nice.
They were all mean and they were not going to like you.
Yes, and I don't belong here. And I remember the whole grandiose, and oh my God. But anyway, I am a sucker for structure, and programs and what. So I was very happy that was there. I was actually now just curious of, okay, so what are we going to do? So some lovely lady, one of the patients comes in and tells me the program, And so it was like, no, you don't have to come, because they're used to people first, either they're on detox or whatnot. I was ready to go, that next day. And so I go and I said, so she told me sessions. So I thought she was taking me to see a counselor. And I didn't realize that we were going to go sit. So I sat and I was the first one there. She just pointed out the window where. And I went and sat, and then I saw everyone coming. So I asked, what are you doing here? Why are you here? Right? No, we have a session. We have group sessions. I'm going to talk in front of all of you. Your first one. My first thought, I need to call my brother. This can't work. This is not going to work. This is not going to work. And then everyone is coming, and now I'm looking at them. Some come dragging their feet. Others are so talkative, asking too many questions. That DOC question. So what's your DOC? What's your DOC? And because I was just so upset, I just wasn't talking. And remember, they're used to people coming in drowsy. What? So if you don't talk, they just think, remember, this one is still out of it.
She's still high.
So they just left it at that. But then eventually, someone just got it out of me. It was like, so what's your DOC? I was like, so what is DOC? What's this thing you guys are talking about? So I say alcohol and what. And in the middle of that conversation, the counselor came. Now, the counselor was this very cool guy. Came in with such a bounce and words so full of life. He had dreadlocks. He was wearing a tee with such, I don't remember the slogan, but it was I even remember laughing at it. And he had so much energy, and I will never forget my first was the Jellinek curve. We've done an episode on that, like the whole journey, and it's amazing. That was just the hand of God, because at that point I was already thinking, I think I exaggerated a little. I don't need to be here. I was so in my mind, I was just waiting for that to end so I could go call and go away. Like this was just a mistake, one of my many mistakes. So he starts and I'm like, yep, that's me, the whole journey of addiction. By the end of that session, I had no doubt that I was meant to be there, and that if I hadn't come in on time, I was definitely going to die, end up in like all this terrible, what do they say? Death institutions, I don't know, jail
or recovery.
Or recovery. So I will never forget, and I always thank God that it was that counselor, because he was so full of life. He completely distracted me the whole time. Like, it just was very uplifting. And then I just sort of, got into it, right? So that was that. So my first activity was that group session. And then after that he asked to see me, to explain now the private sessions. So you have group sessions every morning from 9 to 11, and then if you're due to see one of the counselors, so you see about twice a week for the private sessions. So in this case, he wanted to explain that to me, so we went and sat, and he takes me through the whole story. What I also loved about this counselor was one of his first words, he was like, "Hi, I am Brian, and I'm a recovering alcoholic." Right? Actually, he said addict, and then went on to break it down, because at that point I didn't understand all these things. What do you mean addict, alcoholic? What is it? And because of everything that he was describing, he went into all those details. Like, I think I was even, there was so much I didn't understand, and how everyone goes around, "Hi, my name is," me, and I kept quiet. He was like, "It's okay, next," Because what do you mean I'm an alcoholic? I had never, I had never Googled that. I had never, I didn't understand it. But anyway, so just in those 2 hours, I understood so much. Anyway, so the group sessions, you have private sessions, and then lunch. Now, the food. So for me, most people get to rehab when they are malnourished, like they've not been eating, or they've been in weird situations, they've been in the ghetto for how long, they've been, so usually they're underweight. And a lot of the food there is to if I say fatten people as if cows.
It is as if, but it is as if. It is to make you healthier.
So for me, that's when I was like, no, this won't work, because I need to be doing the opposite. And it's because I have always been a comfort food eater. When I'm stressed, when I'm an emotional eater. Yes, I will hug that plate. So I had to work out something with the kitchen that was sorted. In terms of the other activities, some afternoons we would have AA meetings. That's when we get together, people share their stories, or we read the big book together that has so many stories of alcoholics, addicts that are in recovery, right? Where they share their whole story, 360 degree up to where they are now. And I remember spending nights, I'd fall asleep reading that book, because it was what? Every story was like mine.
Yes.
And I was in so shock. This disease, it's such an isolating disease. You keep thinking you're alone. You're only one in this thing.
It's happened to
And then because of the shame and the guilt, you don't just go jazzing about it, and then you're masking so people can't tell. So this, there's just so much coming to me, So what else would you want to know about rehab? About my experience?
Well, so you asked me about the visitations, and they were visitations, but what was that like? Do you get family visits? Do you get family counseling?
Yes. Actually, so there's where I went, Safe Places. It's a monthly visit. Reminded me so much of school. I felt like I was back in boarding school. But for me, the pink cloud hit very early, literally from that lesson. It was like, what? This whole time, the thought of it being, a disease, and now there's hope. Actually, what I was experiencing was hope for the first time.
That's the big cloud. They should really hope, because it's what you're feeling.
I was, reading all these stories of people who've recovered. So it was so there is hope, So that's what I was dealing with. Now, so family. Now, I went literally the day after visiting day. So I had a whole month to the next, and I was so happy about that. I remember I called my family and asked if they wouldn't visit for the first, because I just, in my mind, I had put them through so much. So I really wanted them to see me when I'm really like so much better. So in my mind, I thought 2 months is good. My stay was to be 3 months. So I wanted them to see me after 2 months. But they were so hard, and then I felt so guilty. So I called back and and said, no, it's okay, you can come. But then I asked, not mom and dad yet, can Daniel come? Can my brother come?
Yeah.
Right? Because then I felt like that I can manage. I didn't even know if I was ready emotionally, to sit across from them.
Yeah.
I was still really ashamed and really, but with my brother I could, we've always been close like that. So that's a month after my brother came, and so on these visiting days, in the morning they have sessions for parents, like parents only or caregivers, whoever has come to visit, right? Sit in a room, and then these counselors take them through everything, like literally psychoeducate them, what addiction is, how to support this, their family member that's in rehab, what to say, what not to say, all these things, and basically answer all their questions. You can imagine how confusing it is for families. So I was actually quite impressed by that they had that. And I remember that very surreal feeling, like being outside and knowing my younger brother was in there, with other parents, being told this. Like, I always had, so many of those moments of, how is this my life? Like, how has my life come to this?
Yeah.
Like, this brother who's supposed to look up to me is now here visiting me in a rehab. I remember that day was quite hard on me, and he was so nice, and it was mostly a nice day, but I couldn't help but have that heavy feeling after. Now, of course, he wasn't allowed to enter the girls' section, but then he really wanted to know he was so curious about what my life was like there, and for him, he said like the whole month he was just waiting, like bated breath, because he kept expecting a phone call of, come get me, like this won't work. So he was so curious, like he was like, Mike, you're thriving. First of all, when he came, I had dropped like 10 kgs. I looked so much better. So I take him around the building and show him my room through the window, right? And where my books were, and this, and the bathroom, and all that. It was actually quite nice. It was a nice visit. So that was visiting days. And then the next one, oh my God, I was anxious for like a week before my parents came. I was so, I just, and the counselors kept trying to get me to see, to be more positive minded and whatnot. It didn't work. But then when they came, I've never seen my parents that graceful and kind. They said all the right words, and then after that, I even had to ask, I was like, were these guys coached? Like, did they go to Chambogo and be told what to say, what not to say? Like that they have never been more correct. Do you know? And my dad is one of those very brash people, right? Just says this and will this. Yes, he means well, and we're used to it. This time, my God, his EQ was so high up there. It was actually quite emotional for me. It was so nice. So, and I was told how he even sat in front, in that session, and was asking all these questions, and he always has this piece of paper that he pulls out of his shirt, and he's writing. And for him, how he understands things, he has to like create formulas, circles, link things,
because he's a doctor, professor,
So that's what he was doing, and then had so many questions for the counselors, but not too many. And he didn't. It wasn't coming from like a place of judgment, blame, or him freaking out. No, it was just curiosity and of what can we do to support her. Oh my God. Actually, that day is when I realized that our minds are such dangerous places.
Very dangerous. They convince you that you are unloved.
And the counselors kept saying, do you see what we're worried about? Yes, but indeed, why? Like, they hadn't done anything to make me feel, why was I expecting the worst? But anyway, it's part of the journey of addiction.
Part of the journey.
Yes, and at that point, my God, I felt so good, because I then had just one more month to go. And I remember having all this renewed hope, like I could do that. I started just, for that month now preparing for the outside world, But so that was that about visiting at this place. I really bonded with people. Like, I don't know when I had last watched DSTV, guys, like sitting and watching. And the guys there liked Paul Magic. I watched shows. Have you watched Date My What? Date My Family?
No.
Yeah, please don't. But I watched things I didn't think I could ever watch.
Yeah.
But you know what the best part was? On my first Sunday, right? At that point, I'd been there a week. I go into the lounge where the TV is. That's where the water dispenser was. And I was just getting water after a workout, which I need to tell you about. And I find this lady singing along to something she was watching, right? So I go sit next. I'm so curious. Like, she looks so happy and she's singing and what. So I go sit next to her with my water, right? I'm still sweating. And I'm looking at her and I'm watching, the screen. And she was watching one of those programs on Rema, right? So do you know what was on? Fonero, right? Is that how you pronounce it? Fonero
so,
at
yeah.
8:30. Pastor Grace
Lubega, yeah.
Now, I was the biggest judge of those things. Oh. Yeah, and those things. I can't even say it now. But yeah, so here I was. I kept looking at her and the joy. I kept looking and I'm like, but I want this feeling.
Yeah.
So I look at the screen and guess what? 40 minutes later, I was still sitting there listening. Like, now the worship part had ended, and now when they go into the sermon.
Yeah.
And I listened to him, and it was about faith over fear, right? And it's so funny because that's what we had been talking about, like courage and whatnot, with the counselor. You're here, have faith. You may not understand the whole process. You can't see the picture clearly yet, but just have faith. And that's exactly what this guy was saying. From that day, I loved Sundays. I would be the first one there, sitting there with my mom had given me this Bible that was still there gathering dust, I actually went, sat there and, with a notebook and I'd be taking notes. So it would start at 8:30 with Pastor Grace. And then at 9, there was a lady called Taffy Dola. So I just, like after that it would end and I just stayed sitting and then go on to the next one. Now this Taffy Doll, I promise you, at some point I thought she was really only speaking to me. Every week it was very, very relatable. And the way she explained the word, they're talking with her Bible open, she'd say a verse. Now me, I was at that point where I needed the index. Oh, where's John? Pastor John?
Yeah. No, I'm not judging. I don't even know how to find them in a hard copy because of phones now.
Yeah. So, so she really, truly taught me how to read the Bible. And after that, that's when now Watoto online would come on. And my God, the energy, I loved the worship. I would sing along, me who didn't even know, but until they put the words.
Yeah. You can follow, yeah.
Up to now, I think I know 5 songs, maybe fully, yeah. But I loved it so much. I tried to go there when I came out and the crowd overwhelmed me. It was different from watching it on TV. So I had to find another one. But up to now, whenever I can, if I don't go to church, I will watch them. I will watch it online. That was my Sundays, and I'd sit there with my breakfast and I lived for Sundays. I loved it so much, and that's how I started praying. That's how I found God. I'll never forget that lady was called Rose. I think Rose is a special, like my Rose at home. But anyway, so that was that part about faith, and then I had talked about the workouts. So I needed to remember I was obese. Like, I was the heaviest I had ever been. I had hit 100 kgs. And I needed to do something. It had reached a point where it was like a disability. My knees were aching. I was just so lethargic the whole time. So I knew that I needed to do something about it. So I sent for my workout clothes, my little dumbbells and whatnot. And this place, I really love that they actually had aerobics, and it's safe places. Their slogan is, holistic healing. And they tried, they actually did a lot. So I loved the aerobics on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Of course, at first, I'll never forget that first session. First of all, I was in pain, so much pain. I could not do a sit-up, guys. I could not sit up. Even just raising my leg was a problem. I was a nightmare, but that guy was so patient and up to date. He's still my personal trainer. When he's not in Bujuko, he's at my house. Because of that, because of how patient he was with me. He wasn't pushy. He understood my knee issues. But guys, the workout, anyway, everything just felt heavenly.
Yeah.
There's also something about working out, in outdoor, and then also I was seeing results. I was really, really dropping those kgs.
Yeah, same
I was feeling
here.
so much better than I'd ever felt.
been.
So I started walking. So when he wouldn't come, so that was Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturday, Sunday, I'd walk around the perimeter, and I'd walk with my little dumbbells, and I loved it. So I'd even decide what I'm going to think about, like meditate. I am going to walk while maybe thinking about usually like what I've read, in whatever chapter, and see how to adapt it in my life and whatnot. So it was very meditative for me. It wasn't just walking to lose weight. It was very meditative. And at 6, I used to walk at about 6:30. Everyone's still asleep. It was just me and the sky, and God. And I used to pray while walking a lot. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
What part about my stay haven't I shared? The private sessions. My first private session, I had to apologize for like 2 weeks after that. Okay, no, like after. And it was because I sat and I was like, I don't believe in these talking things. I was like, and then you do what? At that point, I didn't know how he was going to get me to stop drinking by talking. I really didn't believe in therapy until that point. But then I got into it. It was so hard at first. But then he was really good, just with guiding questions with this, and also sharing a lot about his story. And then while in there, I also found out that because then I was being observed, obviously, and I had all these OCD issues, and if something didn't go my way, the way I would react and all that. So I ended up having all these assessments done on me, right? So they started the process there, but then I continued it when I got out, and I was diagnosed with ADHD, with traits or this, that of autism, and that's where a bit of OCD and this stuff comes in. That we talked about how that will be for another episode. Yeah. But I keep saying, I feel like I met me in Bujuko. Yeah. I fully understood myself, the way I did things, how it all started. I have never been as hopeful. Like up to now, when I want to feel that hope again, when I want to put myself back, I keep taking myself back into that room. Like through meditation, I go back into that room to feel that hope that I felt, that pure joy. The other day, my phone chargers all died and whatnot, and for from the afternoon to the next day morning, my phone was off. I slept like a baby. I woke up, and the first thing I told someone was, it felt like Bujuko. It felt amazing. I sat on my couch in my room and read more than I had read before, like more chapters than I usually do in the morning, and life was good. Yeah. But anyway, so I loved the chance to pause, the opportunity to pause everything and reflect. I will always appreciate my family for giving me that time, for looking after my son while I was away, Lam for looking after the business, my friends that understood. I went in there with no pressure, just a chance to focus on me, and walk through all my issues. Yeah. So that was 3 months of rehab. I played Matatu, guys, and it's weird. It's like riding a bike. Everything came back, and I was the queen of Matatu. I really just sat and got to know people, made friends. All those people that looked so weird to me in the beginning now stopped looking like that. I learned so much about mental health issues. I learned so much about addiction, obviously. So remember that this is about demystifying addiction. So there are many people who've been asking me, all the strangers, you went to rehab? How is it? How did you sleep? So you sit with other people, they see your face, like they will see your face. It's not like there's a mask. You're even on VD, other families come and see you there as a patient. How did that feel? How do what do you eat? What do you do all day? Guys, I hope I've answered that. I hope Easy has.
And it was about sharing, if you are that worried or that anxious about meeting people and have the option to go somewhere else. Rehabs exist in very many countries that are accessible. But of course, if you would like to go to the one I went to, reach out. I'll share the contacts.
Well, actually, I'll caption here. You'll share the links.
I'll share the links.
I'll share. We'll share also. For safe places. And obviously, we can't exhaust everything in this 1 hour.
No.
So if there are any questions, please DM us,
Yeah.
or get that person that you know is struggling to DM
Yeah,
us, or
DM
DM,
us.
on their behalf. Whatever it
Yeah.
is, we'll answer your questions. What we can't answer, we will always direct you to the right people. I mean, you can see we now have access to or know the best addiction counselors in Uganda here.
Well,
Flash knows ones in India, but she's also met a couple of them here.
And they are definitely at the top of their field.
Yes.
So guys, like, share, subscribe, and keep your notifications on so you know when the next episodes drop. We hope that we are demystifying addiction. We hope that you are learning and actually enjoying these episodes, and thank you for coming with us this far. Keep coming back, as they say in AA.
Yes, keep coming back.
One day at a time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.